Welcome to Sweating Sundays. This one's for the football sickos. If that's you, welcome home. Let's sweat.
Let's sweat indeed. It's Declan Goff here with Thor Nystrom and Derek Brown. We are Sweating Sundays, a football betting podcast looking to get into some sicko behavior, not just on some betting things, but also in football and life in general. So if you haven't already, hit the like button and the subscribe button here on the Sweating Sundays YouTube channel. A 5-star rating on the Apple side, on the Spotify side. We're also all over the social medias. We have Sweating Sundays on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. So go hit those follow buttons. Tell your friends about it. Tell your coach about it. Tell everyone you know about it. For those who are uninitiated, I got Derek Brown over there. I'm going to point the right way. I'm going to point to Derek Brown over there. D-Bro from Fantasy Pros. He's one of the top NFL and fantasy football minds in the country. And on the other side, we got Thor Nystrom from also Score North, where me and Thor both work, and one of the top NFL draft and college prop minds in the country. So we are Sweating Sundays. We're going to be live here or recording on Mondays in the preseason, and then once the actual NFL season goes up, we're going to double up the coverage, if you will. We're going to go to Tuesdays and Thursdays, with a Thursday being a live stream too. We want some audience interaction, which will be super fun. So we're really excited to be here on Sweating Sundays, and let's kind of jump into it here, fellas. So we had preseason, week 1, which, by the way, unders. Took my under in the Vikings game. That worked out very well for me, so thank you for the great advice here from Thor and D-Bro. Had no idea that was a thing. Little win on the bachelor party over the weekend with some buddies. Worked out very slick, so thank you. But let's start with some of these preseason takeaways here. Let's run through a few of them. D-Bro, the Shedeur versus DeShaun Watson battle, if you will. What did you take away from the DeShaun Watson versus Shedeur Sanders situation in Cleveland?
Dude, I think people are going to look at the stat lines. I think that Watson is the clear leading guy in this one, and I think both these guys looked rough in week 1 of the preseason. Watson looked very tentative under center, slow trigger, looked very indecisive at times. It was a lot of like underneath stuff, check downs versus Shedeur. Man, he just he had some good throws that he put on tape, but the other part about it was Shedeur, every single play, he looks a tick behind the play design. I like the arm talent, but looking at this competition, I don't think we got there wasn't a clear leader. If you just look at the stat lines and the box scores, I think people are going to think that DeShaun Watson walks out of week 1 as the clear leader in that competition. And I just don't see it, boys. I think both those quarterbacks look pretty suspect, to put it kindly.
And with the quarterback of the future clearly not on the Browns roster. I don't want to harp on it, but I don't understand why you would play DeShaun Watson for myriad reasons this year. You're not going anywhere this fall anyway. The thing that you're competing for, it's to get to the top of the 2027 draft board, where we're going to have a stacked quarterback class there. Play one of the kids, whether it's Shedeur, play one of the kids. I don't understand what you're doing, if you're going to end up going with Watson, if it's even remotely close.
I don't disagree at all, Thor. And the last thing I'll say on this is, I could definitely tell you Dylan Gabriel ain't it at all with this.
Well, we knew that coming in.
Yeah.
Did you guys see the Dome Stadium rendering that they released today, Cleveland's new possible football
I haven't seen
stadium?
it yet.
No, I haven't seen it, but that makes a lot of sense considering the weather that you play up there. And
if you're watching or listening back on this, go to ESPN Cleveland on Twitter, and it's a fresh look at the Browns' new Dome Stadium. It's supposed to be opening in 2029. It looks like a prison. And I don't mean that because, and I have some friends in Cleveland. Okay, Cleveland rocks. Football team's a little suspect, but regardless, all right, they're a loyal fan base that's been tortured forever. This place looks like a prison. It does not look inviting at all. There's bars. There's literally bars. If people see the rendering I'm talking about, there's bars in numerous spots, in gates of gates and windows.
Not drinking establishments, but.
No.
Prison bars.
Prison bars.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So not good there.
Not good.
Hey, Cam Ward. I mean, I think I gave you guys the Titans prop. I'm kind of bullish on those Titans. D-Bro, any worries with Cam? I mean, you got the Brian Daboll there. I'm really excited to see at least them get another headshot with a new head coach and Robert Saleh. I really like what they're trying to do. Was there any concerns from what you saw from Cam Ward in the first preseason game?
There were a lot of concerns. Now, I will give some context here. Everybody burying him on social media for the play where he does basically the spin around and they tackle him and it looks really rough. let's also give some context there. The offensive line, J.C. Latham got his butt kicked on that freaking snap. Like, the pocket collapsed around him. I'm not telling you Cam Ward played extremely well, but at least if we're going to besmirch his name and talk about the worries about Cam Ward, like at least let's keep it a buck here and be honest about it. Like, there were a lot of plays that were concerning in week 1 of the preseason. That wasn't really one of them for me because the play design, like, the biggest thing that is concerning, and this is something Cam Ward even talked about on the Netflix stuff in the quarterback series, if anybody's walked up or seen that so far, is that Cam Ward is new to reading defenses and coverages. He talked about this coming out of like a wing T, wishbone, whatever it was, like offense and high school. Wasn't asked to do any of that. Basically, he didn't learn reading coverages until he got to freaking Miami. So you see that also like pop up in his film. Like, in one play stuck out to me where he almost threw the pick, where Ashton Davis is in the secondary. He comes off his first read and then stares down the second one. The pocket collapses around him, and he doesn't see Ashton Davis breaking towards the ball. So there are concerns about Cam Ward. I think some of this gets kind of ironed out like during the season, where he has to learn also, and we could have a conversation about Caleb and a lot of other quarterbacks coming in the NFL. Not every freaking throw needs to be a fastball where you're trying to throw it through the receiver's hands, throw it through a wall. You got to sit there and take something off and layer it and have some touch to the second level. That was also an issue in preseason week 1. So if Cam can clear that up, yeah, like there's still some upside to be had, but also there's enough concerning things here to where if he doesn't put it together, Tennessee's drafting a quarterback after this year, boys.
Yeah, Thor, what do you think? I mean, do you think Cam Ward can take the next step up and maybe get the Titans back to relevancy? How did you kind of see Cam Ward coming out of college in general, and where do you see maybe his NFL path going in his second season?
Well, he's a high variance player, and he came in a draft class that wasn't the best, right? And there was the lack of quarterbacks in it, and that's what ended up he goes first. But it remains the high variance player. It's very unorthodox prospect. Debro was mentioning it. His high school offense was the wing T. There wasn't much throwing in that. He was discovered anyway and, came up from the FCS and then went to Wazoo and then went to Miami, etc. But some of these different things, the mechanics, sometimes they get haphazard with a lot of times they get haphazard with Cam Ward. The reading the field thing, it's the thing that you like about him is he is the playmaker that's like pushing the envelope, and that in conjunction with the arm talent, that's obviously what you start to dream on. But he is a YOLO decision maker still. Mm-hmm. That was also the case in college. Even when it was Miami going up against all these bad ACC defenses, you'd still see a couple horrific turnovers that there was just no place for, like things of running out of time and before you get to the line of scrimmage trying to scramble away, throwing across the body across the field in a no man's land, like the Cal game I'm thinking of and some other poor games that he had. But he was surrounded by a lot of talent. He's very talented. And I guess the good news here is the Titans, they have the full runway of this season, right, to see if they can work through this thing and can Cam Ward sort of show promise here as the season goes along. But it is a high variance prospect, and the leash, while you're going to have it through the end of this season, you just have to sort of see after that. But if he doesn't get there, there's reasons to believe that, that other outcome could happen.
To your point, Thor, the one thing that gave me so much pause about Cam Ward, the college prospect, was how hot and cold he was, man. Like, so much variability. There was a lot of kind of like dollar store Jordan Love to his game as a prospect where like he would get on these hot streaks and the big plays were there and he's just lacing throws. And you're like, bro, he could be one of the best quarterbacks. And then he goes on a cold streak and you're like, good Lord, man. Like he can't hit a freaking barn. Like, this is terrible.
He's a guy who thinks he can make any throw.
Yes.
He thinks he can make any throw. And there's some that leave in the hand where it's like, bro, nobody can make that throw. And certainly you can't make that throw. And then it gets picked off in the middle of the field. He lives on the razor's edge of that playmaker against the YOLO decisions leading to turnovers. And he's going to have to figure out the dichotomy of like, how much in the NFL can I push that envelope? And what are the times where the discretion is the better part of valor, basically?
Agreed.
Couple things. I'm going to jump ahead in our little notes here, but I'm going to come back to the other wide receivers there. But the rookie quarterbacks in the first week of the preseason. So Fernando Mendoz, Ty Simpson, Drew Allar. What stood out to you about how some of those rookie quarterbacks, Debro, looked in the first kind of preseason games and their first action in the NFL?
I think the overarching theme of all those quarterbacks is just very vanilla offenses they were asked to run in and again, I'm not asking or expecting in preseason week 1, their first NFL game action, for them to come out here full field reads and look like finished products. Far from it. But also, let's be honest about what we saw in week 1 of preseason. Like, everybody touting the Ty Simpson stat line. Like, come on, give me a freaking break, dude. Like, he literally just operated like it was tons of, and I was talking to Thor over the weekend. I was like, dude, you're going to be in for a treat. Like, you watch this Ty Simpson, like, preseason stuff. And when I say treat, it is people are going to glaze this and talk about how awesome it was. And it's like, bro, he literally the Rams spammed like the same play to different sides of the field, like 8 times out of his freaking 25 throws. It was boot to one side, check down to the running back, wide receiver runs across her, tight end comes out, and it just floods to one side. So like whoever's open, a lot of times like he's taking the check down. And just for numbers to back up the fact of like, this stat line is not nearly as impressive as I think like the national media will sit here and kind of like gloss this up. Amongst 57 qualifying quarterbacks for PFF in week 1 of preseason. Yeah, sure. He had the second most passing yards and he was 17th in yards per attempt. He also had the 11th lowest ADOT at 5.3 and the 17th longest time to throw. So there are a lot of holes to this pretty picture that people want to paint about Ty Simpson. So not a lot learned from him. And the same thing I could say for Mendoza and Drew Allar. Allar, it was like easy, like literally 3-step drops, back foot hits, rip it to the open guy. A lot of easy zone looks, pitch and catch, first read. You didn't learn really anything about Drew Allar. And Mendoza, the thing that I thought was concerning a little bit about him in the first game was he had a lot of hesitance at times where like I felt like on the limited reps I saw where just the trigger was a little bit slow, and probably some of that is like NFL spacing, getting to, getting through his reads and getting used to the speed and the spacing of the NFL game. I'm not like overly concerned, but again, like anybody coming out of here, like, and telling you after week 1 of preseason that any one of these guys looked amazing or Drew Allar is the future for the Pittsburgh Steelers at quarterback, like you need to pump the brakes and like be honest about what we saw and what we didn't see from these rookie quarterbacks.
The one thing I'll say that was, I think, optimistic was with Allar of just throwing the ball with a little bit of confidence, like
that he didn't look absolutely horrible and lost, and he actually looked somewhat accurate. Thor.
Well, I mean, like at Penn State, there was I don't know if it was glitching. I don't know if the coaches were in his head, but the kid has a big arm, and at Penn State, there was times where he just wouldn't rip it, right? Of course, with the field reading, that's the thing with him that's coming along. But beyond that, he had a sort of skittishness with letting it rip at times, and he wanted to see the receiver fully open. At least he was, and they probably drilled this into him the 4 months since they drafted him of like, get that ball out of your hands, right when you see it, get the ball out of your hands. So at least that part of it I thought was optimistic. But yeah, it's early with all 3 of those guys. Just got to keep watching.
Yeah, I'm curious to watch a lot of those quarterbacks develop. Mendoza too. We'll see if Allar, how much playing time he ends up maybe even getting, if any playing time at all. But all right, there's still stuff to learn about in the preseason here. That's what we try to do at Sweating Sundays. We're going to take away some of the sicko behavior of what we can see in the preseason and move it over also into the regular season. But Thor was telling me this afternoon before we jumped on that he has a sicko story for us, which we always try to provide some type of sicko story situation, whether it's just us researching random football things, our experience watching or betting on football throughout the week. Thor, was it a college fantasy league that you're in? Like, and aren't you in a few of these?
Yeah, in a lifetime of being a football sicko, the sickest thing I do every year is it used to be a 50-team college fantasy football league, and then as the FBS has expanded here, this is our 10th season, we were able to expand it to 60 teams last year. It is the biggest fantasy football league that we are aware of that does not use duplicate players. And of course, in the FBS now going up to 138 teams, you have a pretty big player universe. But my 60-team college fantasy football league began drafting this morning. So I'm getting blown up with the texts and the DMs and the dings and from the draft room and everything like that. But we have 6 concurrent 10-team division drafts going on right now, and that's sort of how we distribute the player pool. And then when the drafts are done, we import all the rosters into the master 60-team league, and that's where we play the season out. And you have 9 weeks of a round robin schedule with your 10-team division, and then we get into the playoffs after that, 16 teams playoffs. But it's the sickest thing I do, and it's also one of the funnest things I do.
You tried to talk me into joining this league, I think about 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, I will do some serious DGen stuff. Like, I was in the preseason DFS streets this last weekend, and I had a sweat. I was top 10 in 2 contests before Chalk Adam Randall scored a touchdown, which shout out to Adam Randall.
Shout out to Steve Bisciotti. He's the guy that drafted Adam Randall.
Had to get that tutty for the owner.
Yeah,
had to. They had to
literally
had to do it.
Yeah.
But you tried to talk me into doing this league about 3 years ago, and I was like, bro, I'm into the weeds, but during the NFL season, I'm not even that much into the weeds, man.
It's so fun.
Well,
it's the league where you have to know the backup Rice running back, get the the force, the wide receiver 5 on North Texas kind of a thing. Yeah.
We want to take these sicko items that we do in our lives and bring them to you for entertainment purposes, mostly for entertainment purposes. But also, if you're watching a random Rice University game, you can figure out who the heck this backup running is. So this is actually a good.
It's very Bane-esque of you. You were like, I bring it to you.
I bring it to you. These are your warriors. Let's go for a sweat list here. I don't need to do more Bane preparations here. And I'm going to try to mix maybe a workshopping benchmark theory, the sweat list. We've been kicking around some random things. It's preseason for us still, too. So we're trying to figure out what stays in the playbook, what the heck gets in and out of that playbook. So here's what we're going to do for this kind of segment here. We're going to have Thor and Debro alternate some picks here. So Thor is going to give some college football futures, and Debro is going to give some NFL team award futures as well. I'm going to give you one little thing at the end as well before we transition to some prop bets. So we can kick things off here. I feel like we need the music, right? We need our NFL.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, here we go.
There it is.
Set the mood.
Oh, baby.
Is this the right one? This is the right one. It says it's going to end in a minute. Oh, no, 22 minutes. We're good. Thank goodness. Let's say I'm not going to hit that 22 times over the next half hour. So we'll start with a Thor prop. Thor, you had the college football sicko behavior there with what you do as a DGen drafting team. But what's a college football future that you really like for this upcoming season?
I'm going to start this off with actually a 2-step bet. So this would be 2 different wagers, but this is my Big 12 championship 2-step here. I'm going to advocate for a bet on Houston to win the Big 12 at 16-1. And so half a unit on that and half a unit on Oklahoma State at 29-1. The way that the books are pricing Texas Tech is almost as though they are a shoo-in to win the Big 12. They remain even money to do so, despite the fact that the star quarterback they gave all their NIL money to, or a lot of it, over the offseason, Brendan Sorsby, we all know that story. They have an enormous question mark at quarterback, Texas Tech. They're going to go with this kid, Will Hammond, who's been around the program, but that was the guy that they chose to usurp with their big money acquisition of Brendan Sorsby. And Will Hammond, it's basically, he's a knockoff version of Morton, the guy that they had last year. It's like a pocket passer with kind of a noodle arm, and they hope he reads the field quickly and gets the ball out quickly and accurately, etc. But Will Hammond, there's physical limitations there. There is also big-time durability questions with Will Hammond. Either way, the idea that Texas Tech is that big of a prohibitive favorite still in a Power 4 conference, I just disagree with it on its face. If you split 2 units, and again, half on Houston 16-1, half on Oklahoma State 29-1, both these teams absolutely have puncher's chances of getting into the Big 12 championship game. And at that point, you could hedge out for a big profit. Right? Like, either way that the thing goes, you could also just let the thing ride. Both these teams are going to have puncher's chances. Houston, it's become a veteran team now under Willie Fritz. They've done really good in the transfer portal. They brought a whole bunch of guys back. Their quarterback, Connor Weigman, Amari Thomas, the wide receiver he throws to all the time. And they had another really good portal class, mostly in the trenches, which Willie Fritz has been a staple of his team going back a long time. And then Oklahoma State is the team that I am picking this year to just shoot up in the Power 4. this team's going to have a shot to beat anyone because they're going to have a nasty offense that they imported from North Texas. Drew Mestamaker, Caleb Hawkins, Wyatt Young, all these different guys that were just studs at the G5 level. That is going to translate into the P4, giving Oklahoma a shot to go from 1-11 to being in the thick of the Big 12 title race. But Big 12 championship two-step is my first bet.
I love it. Okay, so that's Thor's first college bet. We'll have more to come from there on that college side. D-Bro, what about in the NFL side? Which one do you want to start with here, and what do you got for us?
Well, Thor's talking about college championships. I mean, this just segues perfectly to my Denver Broncos. They're going to be the AFC champion.
Oh, wow.
Plus 1025, boys? Like over plus 1,000 odds. 7th longest odds in the AFC to take the AFC. Considering this team was like a Bo Nix injury away, like they could have been in the Super Bowl. And the 7th longest odds right now. They added Jalen Waddle. Their defense is still going to be amongst the league best. Per Sharp Football, the 11th easiest schedule. Dude, when I was looking at odds, I was like, this just stands out as like the books messed this up. They messed this up.
Yeah, I mean, we all know people are going to have a lot of, I guess, belief in the Chiefs and Mahomes coming back. And we've kind of talked a lot about, I don't know, about why the Ravens are as high as they are on Super Bowl odds. The Bengals have an easier schedule, but, I mean, they haven't done anything the last 3 to 4 years either. So, yeah, that feels like a huge long shot. And, like the Patriots, we'll see what happens with them as their regression. But yeah, they should have been, and you could have made a case they almost made it to the Super Bowl with their backup, like without Bo Nix.
This team should be top 5 or top 3 in the odds. I think it's just it's a market inefficiency.
Okay, so it's a long shot, plus 1025, and look, you're trying to peg one of those. It's already going to be plus money and going to be difficult to do on a long shot. But I like it as a long shot play, and to win not just the AFC North, the whole bleeping AFC. And if they had home field advantage again, which they had last year, that path gets a lot easier as well. Thorsky, do you have another college football prop for us?
Yeah, I'm gonna go down to the G5 with this, or G6 now, I guess. And I'm going to take Florida Atlantic to go over 5.5 wins. Florida Atlantic last year was 4-8 overall, but they were 7-5 against the spread, which showed that they were fighting under a first-year head coach, Zach Kittley. Zach Kittley just turned 35, and he's this offensive guru guy with the pass game. Last year, the issue with the team, the reason that it was 4-8, they were negative 21 in turnovers because that passing game, the timing of it takes a little time to set in. This year, they have a far more experienced team heading into the second year under this staff. Number 14 in returning experience after being one of the lowest in college football in that same metric last year. Now, Florida Atlantic, they very well and probably will start 0-2 because they start out with Florida and Navy. But the 10 games after that are crazy beyond manageable. I mean, any of them, really, they could win. We only need them to get 6 of those in order to go over this. But the biggest guys coming back, their quarterback, Caden Veldkamp, he's a really good fit for this offense, like a 6'5", strapping pocket passer. And then Easton Messer, their slot receiver, who's just a target hound. This offense is going to be very good. They also have a good special teams. The defense was a travesty last year. It cannot be worse this year than it was last year. It could even get up to potentially middle of the pack. They in the AAC, they have some interesting players on the defensive side of the ball. Either way, going over on FAU, 5.5 wins.
Okay, so I'm looking back here, and Thor, you'll just have to trust my research. But they've won 4 wins, 3 wins, 4 wins. The last time they got to 5 was in 2022. So they haven't gotten to 5 wins in a few years, but with some turnover differential, the quarterback coming back. All right, over 5 wins. Over 5 wins for those Owls.
Yeah, this is going to be their best season in a while here. I think this team is getting back to a bowl. I'm over 6. I would go 7 or 8 for me for this FAU team. Ooh. I really think that offense is going to take in this year. I mean, like, you look at the history of some of these guys that bring in these high flying attacks. A lot of times it does take until the second year for that thing to truly get going. That's what I think we're going to have a classic case of this here. And in the AAC, you have a bunch of these bad defenses. FAU is going to spread the field, and they're going to attack you in space. I don't think the rest of the AAC is going to be totally prepared for what they see from FAU this year. I think they're going to ambush some of these teams. So the 5.5 to me is just too low.
Especially, if you're looking at some powerhouses in college football, for the real sickos here, no, we're looking at Florida Atlantic. 4.5, we're looking at good money here to get this over and get this win. I love that. D-Bro, what's another NFL future or a team award that you have that your eyes on for this football season?
So this is a very specific market. I want anybody listening to this to pull up your DraftKings Sportsbook app right now and to place this. This is basically, and the way I'm framing this is my Cincinnati Bengals will win the AFC North bet, but you're not making that bet because you're not getting the best odds. The odds right now for Cincinnati to take the North are a plus 184. But so I'm going to tell you, head to DraftKings right now, and I want you to place this for Baltimore to be second in the AFC North at plus 210. You're getting better odds than Cincinnati taking the North. If you say Baltimore will be second, Cincinnati is minus 200 also to make the playoffs. So the books are telling you this is going to be a really good team. Yeah. They have the second easiest schedule per Sharp Football. And so, again, just chasing the odds and looking for inefficiencies in all these different markets, I love this bet.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing because I feel like both those teams are obviously the favorites to win the division. However, can you find a little bit more little bit more juice there with Baltimore going second? And again, I mean, kind of rehashing the thing we had last week, they could be an 11-win team that finishes second in the wild card because that's still a good season. But yeah, I really like both those things. I mean, Thor, between Baltimore, Cincy, do you have just like a gut feeling of who would you like to take to win that division right now if you were just kind of looking at it from a 30,000-foot view?
I don't think it's prohibitive, and that's I like this look that D-Bro has, and it's sort of a sneaky contrarian play. It's going beyond, the thing. A lot of people are betting the Bengals to win that division now, and that's quasi contrarian. But to the point where now the odds, as D-Bro was mentioning, they really don't justify that bet. Whereas if you just toggle it down to this one, and do we think the floor is going to fall out from Baltimore? Like on the other side of it, I doubt it. I do think that it's going to be competitive. But yeah, I mean, the odds would say there, if you do believe in the Bengals, that the odds are here for you with the Ravens to finish second.
Yeah, I mean, like the books are telling us at minus 200 for the Bengals to make the playoffs, then this is likely a 10 or 11 win team. Okay, well, I'm definitely not betting them to make the playoffs then. Okay, let's just go to the division, man.
Yeah, like it. Thor, do you have one more college football prop for us?
I do, and I didn't talk about Drew Mestamaker more when I was talking about Oklahoma State in the first one because I wanted to get a little bit deeper here for my last one, which is a 65-1 shot, which might sound crazy. Only I have 100-1 shot on the same bet, and it was 80-1 when we talked about this one like 3 weeks ago. It keeps coming down. I'm still going to say it's bettable. Oklahoma State quarterback Drew Mestamaker to win the Heisman at 65-1. This guy walked on at North Texas when he was coming out of high school because he was a 0-star recruit who also started 0 games at quarterback in high school. This guy is the best story in college football. He started his first game, 2024. He started the bowl game. It threw for 448 yards in that game. And then last year, his first full season as a starter, led the FBS in passing yards per game, total offense, yards per pass attempt. He was second in the country with passing touchdowns on a team that had the number 1 offense in America. That was North Texas. Now you have 8 contributors, offensive contributors from that team that followed head coach Eric Morris to Oklahoma State and into a conference in the Big 12 where you have a bunch of these Swiss cheese defenses. Caleb Hawkins, the running back, is one of the best running backs in America. People are going to find out this fall. And Wyatt Young, the receiver that gets pounded with a lot of targets there, the NFL likes Wyatt Young as well. These guys are NFL caliber people. In fact, I'm pretty bullish on Drew Mestamaker becoming a first-round pick. I think you see that ascension this year. But with all the points that they're going to put up there at Oklahoma State, with this guy who is an awesome story, Drew Mestamaker, and then what could be one of the best stories in college football this year, if Oklahoma State roars back and has 8-win season, 9-win season, could it even be a 10-win kind of a season where they're sort of in discussion for the CFP and or in contention for the Big 12 title game like we were sort of talking about before? You would also have the wild story of the turnaround from last year's 1-11 no-show where they fired Mike Gundy. It's a totally new era of Oklahoma State football, and I'm all about it. I am heavily invested on the Pokes this summer.
I just did a quick Google search of 0-star recruits that became NFL quarterbacks or like prominent NFL quarterbacks.
Cam Ward's one of them.
Cam Ward's one of them.
Yep.
Google says Josh Allen. Is that true?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Yeah,
that sounds right.
Yeah.
Yep. Sounds right.
Okay, they also have Aaron Rodgers and Big Ben on here. Again, Google
Rodgers,
AI.
it would make sense because he had to go to the community college. Big Ben went to Miami of Ohio, but I don't remember what he was. But that, it would make sense.
And then Carson Wentz.
Oh, and ESU,
yeah, another small school. Yeah, makes sense.
Yep.
Okay, all right.
Not unprecedented.
No, not unprecedented at all. And I'm sure there's actually like other quarterbacks who have had cups of coffee in the NFL too. I just did like prominent ones to start the list there.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, Thor, like if he does take down the Heisman, and you kind of already answered this, like he's going to be a locked in first round pick. You think, huh?
I think so, yeah. And it's a system that he excels at it. Obviously, the guys that he did it with, in the system he did it with, they've all been imported along with him. And I might feel a little bit different. Let's say they'd all gone to the SEC. Let's say that Eric Morris had gotten the Auburn job. Well, then you have a bunch of good defenses. That's probably going to prohibit this. But not only do I believe, as mentioned before, that the Big 12 is wide open, giving this team a shot to potentially be in that conversation near the end of the season, but you're also in a conference where you have all these crappy defenses. And that's something that this offense of Oklahoma State's that's designed to attack. They're going to put up enormous numbers this year. The viability for Drew Messemaker to be in the Heisman race, it doesn't have as much to do with his stats. I know the stats are going to be there as long health permitting. It's more, will Oklahoma State will they get to 9 or 10 wins, right? Because they're going to have to either, get to the Big 12 title game, get to the CFP, or be dang close. That's basically a prerequisite of getting to New York and being in this consideration. But they have a shot. They have the talent there has gotten so much better over the offseason.
Debro, who do you have for a favorite to win Rookie of the Year this year? Or what's one of your favorite bets to win Offensive Rookie of the Year this year in the NFL?
It's Carnell Tate at plus 550 right now, and he's tied for the second longest odds with Fernando Mendoza. But like, if you just look at the market here, guys. Like usually, like a lot of times, I like to go with quarterbacks and Offensive Rookie of the Year. But what quarterback is going to come out of nowhere? Like, we don't even know when Mendoza starts this year. If Kirk Cousins holds that job longer than anybody thinks, so the Raiders just don't win any games or he looks amazing, then I don't see another quarterback coming out of, like, Carson Beck, heck no. Jeremiah Love right now is the favorite in this market. But Love is dealing with a high ankle sprain. The Cardinals are going to be another team that sucks this year. Are we going to see too much Tyler Algier for Jeremiah Love to even put up the stats that would be required for this? So going back to the Cam Ward conversation, again, I have enough faith in Cam Ward to get the ball, much like Tedero McMillan last year with Bryce Young, to just give him the ball to be the wide receiver one for the Tennessee Titans. And if that's the case, like, I also look at this market of, like, it's going to move. Like, Jordan Tyson, before, when I was even prepping for this show, was at plus 600. His hamstring injury, he's dropped to plus 750. Jadarian Price is dealing with a crowded backfield. I just look at it eventually. This market, like, if Carnell Tate comes out and he blows up week one and he ends up with like 80 receiving yards, 100 receiving yards and stuff, and he's leading everything for the Titans, you could look at this market in week one and say Jeremiah Love misses it or he's a part-time player for the Cardinals. We could be looking at this like as early as week one where this market flips and Carnell Tate is the clear leader in this market. But right now, you're getting him at plus 550 and he's tied with Mendoza for second best odds, and he could slip to like third or fourth, depending on how the rest of the preseason goes.
And Jeremiah Love dealing with his own injury right now, right? And then this is an environment with this award, Rookie of the Year this season, where you don't really have an obvious quarterback that could trump card people, right? I mean, the one would be Mendoza, but he's going to have to get that job really early in the season. More on that to come and my feelings on that when we get into our next segment. I'm fading Mendoza with that. So it opens up sort of the whole thing here to potentially try to hunt down some value in the Rookie of the Year market. And I like this look, D-Bro.
It's a good segue there, Thor. We're going to get in some NFL prop bet futures here, too, on the Sweating Sundays YouTube channel and podcast feeds. You can hit the like button and the subscribe button to keep spreading the word. We appreciate that, everyone who has dropped us a subscribe. Drop us a comment, too, on this video of ones you like, ones you want us to look into, maybe, ones you're fading. We'll welcome all those comments here. We try to interact with as many as we can on the YouTube channel and on our Twitter feeds as well. But, Thor, if people are looking for some banking needs, where should they be going?
They should go to North American Banking Company, which was founded right here in Minnesota. NABC offers everything that the big banks do, but with a local personalized touch that makes all the difference. They're available to talk person to person about your business, your situation, and your goals before recommending solutions. Loan decisions are made here locally. If you need any help with your business banking needs, check them out at nabankco.com. That's nabankco.com. North American Banking Company, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
And I noticed Thor was talking about him the other day. He got a new pair of kicks. He got a new pair of shoes here. Where'd you get these shoes from, Thor?
I got them in XL shoes, and if you're like me, you've never really thought about like the shape and size of your feet, but if you're also like me, you have thin red scars on the top of your feet from when I had to shove them into hockey skates that didn't fit over the years, or the rub from the sandals and stuff like that. I didn't really know that there was a solution to this problem until I visited XL shoes recently. I haven't taken off my pair of Pro Pace since I got them on fit alone. Like as a wide foot guy, they're incredible. I've been wearing 10.5s for years, which I could get my feet into by the width of it, but then I'd always have a little bit of extra space, like in the front. So then the shoe didn't break perfectly like when I was stepping, but those are the ones I could get my feet into. When I put on those Pro Pays, it was a eureka moment. Perfect fit on all sides, perfect fit in the toe. For the first time, I didn't really notice the feeling of my shoes at all. They have also an incredible selection of wide foot socks. I got the wide open ones. I got the Merino Wool Run and the athletic socks. They also have work boots for the wide footed work boot guys out there. XL Shoes has the widest work boots available to try on in store for thousands of miles. You know, it's pretty unique. These guys are located in St. Paul in a quiet industrial park, lots of parking, awesome folks inside who will help you find the perfect fit and perfect kicks. I also have a deal for y'all out there. Online, if you use the code THOR, THOR, you will save 15%. In store, if you mention Score North, you will save 20%. Visit XL Shoes in St. Paul.
Heck yeah. St. Paul guy myself.
Yeah.
Love me some St.
Shout
Paul
out St. Paul.
Baby.
Yeah.
Let's go St. Paul. We'll get Debra on the St. Paul train eventually. We'll get him up here.
Better than Texas train down here right now. So yeah, down with that.
Hey, I forgot to give as we transition to the NFL prop bet futures. I'll sneak one in here that I forgot to talk about. Kyler Murray plus 600 for comeback player of the year. I know that this seems like a layup for Mahomes, and it probably is going to be, but if the Chiefs struggle out of the gate, or the Chiefs don't live up to potential as Mahomes comes back from that injury or re-aggravates the injury, and if the Vikings exceed expectations and you have the quarterback doing it, that's obviously likely leading the way in Kyler, I really like this one. So I like Kyler. I think it's like the third or fourth most likely option here. These tend to award quarterbacks who are either coming back from major injury or just looking for change of scenery. But I felt like Kyler at plus 600 was a solid little option there.
Yeah, at that price, I could. You said it's 6 to 1.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, that one, you mentioned the Mahomes thing. He could get trumped there. And then obviously the other one would be the durability with Kyler. But if he was able to, what was it, 2 years ago? That was the season where he, 2024. If he has a season like that where he can stay healthy until the end, it would give him a puncher's chance, if nothing else.
And I would say if you're going to wet your beak on the Kyler bet, just go ahead and parlay it, man. Do it for the Vikes to make the playoffs, too. Because if Kyler has a really good, like, if he wins this award, that means the Vikings probably win. They're in the playoffs. Yeah. They have a really good season.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right, so NFL prop bet futures. Thor, do you want to start us off here with any NFL prop bet that you're looking at for 2026?
Yeah, I sort of tipped this one off a little bit early. Fernando Mendoz, I am going under 2,199.5, so just under the 2,200. Kirk Cousins has already been named the starter. This is more a managed timeline situation for Mendoza than it is any sort of competition. Obviously, the Raiders went 3-14 last year. There's no playoff pressure here or anything like that to like force sort of an early switch. There's also reason to be patient here. You know, both the young quarterback behind a shaky offensive line. Geno Smith was sacked 55 times behind that offensive line last season. Mendoza, he's coming from this RPO offense at Indiana, and we were talking before about his preseason debut. This guy has a really, really good arm, but he's still learning how to read NFL coverages in a more conventional pro-style offense. You don't want him sort of going through that education if he's not comfortable with that behind that leaky offensive line. So again, this comes down to more the work share than anything, but Mendoza's season-long passing yardage prop, it's like 70%, 72% of Cam Ward's. I just think that that's ridiculous. Cam Ward's going to have the longest leash. They're not going to yank him outside of injury this season. And as far as Mendoza goes, a midseason switch, I don't think will be enough to get him over this number. He would need 10 starts at averaging 225 yards passing or so to go over this thing. I don't see it happening on either account, so I'm fading Mendoza.
Okay.
I love this look, Thor. And there are actually certain markets and certain books where you can actually bet how many starts Mendoza makes too. Bet the under on that too.
Yeah, and that one's not even 10, is it?
Like, no. I think it's like last time I looked at the line, like 6.5.
Yeah, I mean, this thing is just too bullish because it requires that he gets that job before the midway point and then holds on to it, and then it's an acceptable performance. Like I said, 10 starts at 225 average. So I just think on multiple different fronts, this one, there's way more pass to this going under than there is to it going over.
Too much Tom Brady influence inside that building, and people keep talking about it. It's like, dude, like, he does not want Mendoza to start year one, so I do not think we see it happen. If not, it's just like a Mahomesian cup of coffee at the very end.
Yeah.
Debro, you have a quarterback one listed on here, not in the AFC, but back in the NFC. What do you got for us on a quarterback prop?
Dude, easy over on Jared Goff. 4,099.5 passing yards. You can get this at plus money at a lot of different books, like plus 100, plus 120. Again, going back to like Detroit has the freaking easiest schedule. They play all these games inside. Their defense has some big questions in the secondary right now. So could they be the Dallas Cowboys or the Cincinnati Bengals this year where their defense is hurting? All these draft picks don't hit the ground running, and Jared Goff is going to be ripping it this year. And I just don't understand this line too, guys, because over like Goff's tenure with the Lions, he's averaged over 4,500 passing yards every season. And yet this line is sub 4,100. No, man, take the over.
Is this also because Gibbs is got the are they banking he's gonna run? Are they gonna run more?
It just feels like a soft line, and you're getting plus money on it.
I'm personally, and I have no relation. Declan Goff has no relation to Jared Goff. Okay, I get it all the time.
It's the family, huh, Dex? You going with the family?
The sicko behavior does not exist with Jared Goff necessarily. I will say my wife really wants him to be a Viking one day because then she can get a Vikings jersey that says Goff on it, which I just said you can just get that now. But if you if you want the Jared Goff one,
that might be a really interesting like wear though. Like people, you go to a Vikings game and people are like at the tailgate like. Huh?
Yeah. So, and she likes Jared Goff a lot. But I'll say that I like Jared Goff too. I think he is for my money the best quarterback in the division. Even though this is coming from a guy who hosts Purple Daily and talks about the Vikings a lot every day. I know sometimes on there they don't love when we talk about the divisional foes and the Packers and the Lions and the Bears and whatnot. But for my money, he's the best QB in the the Now,
I mean, we can all agree it's not Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
I need to see it from Caleb. There's too much hype. Too much hype around a Chicago Bears quarterback for my liking there. Thorsky, what do you got? You have another NFL future prop for us?
Yeah, I threw some cold water on the last one, and since we're also talking NFC North, I'm going to go optimistic here and say in the NFC North, close to home decks, go over on Jordan Mason. 649.5 rushing yards. Mason is the lead back, and he's going to be the bell cow runner this year. Aaron Jones, we'll see, but they're going to try to keep him healthy by focusing more on the passing down stuff with him. You have to try to keep him healthy for longer in the season. Aaron Jones obviously gets nicked up all the time. Entering last season, it was the expected work share between Mason and Aaron Jones, but on the depth charts, Jones was always listed as the starter last year in the summer last year. Mason ended up with 758 yards, rushing yards, 6 touchdowns last year. Jones ended up with 548 over 12 games. Now in this camp, Kevin O'Connell is listing Aaron Jones or Jordan Mason as the lead back. They are already indicating to you with that Mason is going to be a bigger part of the offense this year. And Mason, the run system that the Vikings are installing here, Frank Smith wide zone, is a perfect fit for Jordan Mason. We already saw him with this in San Francisco under Kyle Shanahan. And then, I mean, just the rate stats on Mason. I think he looks better this summer, than even last summer. But here's just some of the rate stats. 5.1 yards per carry, ranked third among running backs with 350-plus carries since the time that he entered the league. 2.42 yards after contact, ranked second. Last season, even on that limited volume, 10th in explosive run rate, 7th in rushing success rate, 9th in missed tackle rate among 49 qualifying backs. He's a very good fit for this new run scheme that's being put in. And you can actually trust Kevin O'Connell this time that they're going to run the ball more. Take it from someone who's spent way too much time in Eagan, Minnesota here over the last couple weeks. The Vikings are doing everything they can to obfuscate this of like this new run scheme, whatever. They don't want it to get out. They're switching that thing around, and Jordan Mason is going to be the dude who is leading that. So go over on Jordan Mason, a guy who's gone more than 100 yards over this total each of the last 2 years. And he's going to be going over those ones, I think, this year. This guy is well within play to get to 1,000 yards.
Yeah, I've been wondering. I really liked that pickup they made it last year, and he does feel, much more like a one-dimensional up the A gap type of running back. And not Jordan Mason, sorry, Aaron Jones gets hurt a ton. He's up there in age. The touches, a lot of miles on the car essentially, and once that hits, just like another used car, it just kind of starts collapsing on you. So I do like this one a lot. And yes, the Vikings, I think, will, knock on wood, actually insulate and use their running game where they have historically sometimes actually been effective at running the football under Kevin O'Connell like they were last year, but they just chose not to do it. So I like these short yardage situations too. You just pile up a couple yards here and there. And it wouldn't shock me at all, I guess, if Jordan Mason would be like the leading rusher either by the end of the season. Yeah, I like
this over. This over's nice too. And if you just look up like the 100-foot view about how this offense can work, I think they're going to have to maintain the ability and the will to run the freaking ball. I don't think this is going to be a pass-heavy offense for the Vikings this year. Run the ball, set up those play-action boots for Kyler to heave it downfield, guys.
Yeah, agreed.
Debro, you have another one back in the AFC, a wide receiver prop that you love.
I mean, talking about the car going on, like, just do people think that Courtland Sutton just has a flat tire, like that he's just not going to be part of the Denver Broncos passing attack this year? Because he's had 1,000-yard seasons in back-to-back years.
Yeah,
he's going to be the clear number 2 wide receiver for the Denver Broncos this year. Jalen Waddle, like, we know that he has the propensity to get dinged up. His line right now is sitting at 699.5 receiving yards for a Denver Broncos passing attack that was 4th in pass rate over expectation and 4th in passing attempts last year. This line just feels like it is an overreaction to the addition of Jalen Waddle, to where, honestly, like, for him to not hit this over, like, he's going to have to be turned into a part-time player, and Pat Bryant or Troy Franklin or somebody else usurps him as the wide receiver 2 in this passing attack. And I just do not see that happening. Like, this line just feels categorically wrong.
I'm shocked. I went back and looked when you just said at the passing attempt number 4. Because, I mean, look, I know Sean Payton likes to pass, so, like, that part's not surprising to me. But, Bo Nix with a lot of the dinking and dunking, I guess I wasn't expecting it to be that high. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Thor, is it just some market correction from Jalen Waddle being added there? Because, I mean, yeah, a 650, 670-yard season from Sutton seems like it should be very much in play.
Yeah, it does feel low. And Waddle, the thing he unlocks with your offense, it's that quick stuff where you can, hit him in the hands and then sort of watch him run. That also has the effect of opening up spacing for your boundary receivers that are going further down the field. So, like, I understand sort of like the knee-jerk impetus of, oh, they got Waddle, they love Waddle, they're going to have all these targets to Waddle. Yes, that's true. But that doesn't mean that everyone else in the offense won't eat as well. And some of them, including Courtland Sutton, I think are now in a more advantageous sort of on-field situation because of the presence of Jalen Waddle.
Agreed.
All right, a couple more props here on Sweating Sundays. Hit the like button and subscribe button, too. Appreciate you guys for supporting the show as we continue to grow. We're over 500 subs, so if we can get to 1,000 even by the time football season starts, that'd be sweet. But we'll be pumping out more content when the NFL season does kick off here in about 3 weeks. Thor, I think you have one more NFL prop bet for us here on Sweating Sundays.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to the cold water here. And, boys, as you remember, like 3 weeks ago, we ran through a test episode, and I was banging the table for Arvell Reese under 4.5 sacks. Since that time, this number has dropped to 3.75 sacks for Arvell Reese. I am still pounding the table to go under on that. Arvell Reese is going to be playing outside. He's going to be playing the will linebacker spot in the Giants' scheme. He is not going to be an edge rusher. The Giants are stocked with edge rushers to even prevent the thing of like situationally, Brian Burns, Abdul Carter, Kayvon Thibodeau, etc. And then it's not really – I think people misunderstand Arvell Reese's game, and they think of him as Micah Parsons. That's not really his game. It's more roving around, rangy in space. And he's used a lot of times as a spy. You can drop him back into coverage. His range against the run, obviously, is ridiculous. But this is not a pin your ears back from the edge type player every single time. And with the Giants, he won't be at all. He's not going to be playing edge rusher this year. Arvell Reese had in over 30 games the last 2 seasons with Ohio State had 7 sacks. And that's even when they were putting him at the edge a whole bunch. 6.5 of those 7 came last year, where obviously his snaps went up. I only counted 5.5 when I went through those plays. There was a couple where I think it maybe should have been a partial one to Arvell that they gave him a full one, but multiple different plays. He got sacks, not by rushing the passer, but by being a quarterback spy against a dual threat guy who would then be like, I don't like what I'm seeing, run towards the line of scrimmage. Arvell would scream down and get him before he got there for the sack. That is not sustainable production for the NFL, certainly here in year one. He's not going to be used enough or utilized enough in that pass rushing role to get to 4 or more. Go under on Arvell Reese, even at this smaller number.
Thor, to your point, and again, this is talking about just the edge in the betting markets. Preseason week 1, 12 snaps, all of them coming at linebacker, none at edge. Out of those 12 snaps, one people, uno mas as a pass rusher.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, and they didn't blitz him like Ohio State didn't blitz him a ton from the off-ball thing. A lot of times, again, it was quarterback spy stuff. It was, running, using that sort of range in space, different stuff like that. But yeah, even the sack total, the meager one that he put up in college, there's some of it that it's just not sustainable to the NFL. That thing of, like, again, the quarterback spy and then getting him a yard or two before the line of scrimmage, like Damon Williams and some of these guys he did it to in college. I don't believe he's going to be getting to 4 sacks. I really like this one.
Mm-hmm. All right, so 2 more left here on Sweating Sundays to get into. I really don't like this one from Debro that's coming up, but I want to hear the logic because I like to be talked into it. So, Debro, what do you got?
Christian Watson, over 50.5 receptions, minus 115, minus 110 across a variety of books. Christian Watson is going to step into, because we saw him perform in this role last year, as Green Bay Packers clear wide receiver 1. No Romeo Doubs anymore. No Dontavian Wicks. Yeah. In the 10 games we saw Watson on the field last year, he was on pace for 60 receptions. That was wild, guys, playing only 68% of the routes. That's going up another year off the ACL. Like, Jane Reed is not playing in 2 wide receiver sets. So we're talking about Matthew Golden to compete with targets, or Tucker Kraft, with the news also coming out that he's going to play a limited snap role for maybe half of the season. Now, I think he's still going to be very involved in the passing attack. But again, the clear number 1 option for the Green Bay Packers will be Christian Watson this year. So, like, this line of 50.5 receptions, this just feels like, because we haven't seen the full season of him being the number 1, or heck, a lot of, like, much full season action for Christian Watson in previous years, where if we had the full season of last year, he probably would have eclipsed this mark, and you wouldn't be able to get this line being this low.
Okay. Thor, I mean, I understand the removing some of the cooks out of the kitchen there in the wide receiver room. That's always been very crowded for Green Bay, and they just sling the ball around. I don't know. I feel I don't like it. Maybe it's just a Vikings bias fan in me. Maybe it's just being a Vikings fan of. It's like when I used to play. I haven't played season-long fantasy football in quite some time. But when I would draft teams, I would not draft NFC North players because I didn't want for them to root twice a week or twice a year, with that team if I drafted. I didn't want to root for them when they were playing the Vikings because I was rooting for the Vikings first. So I understand it. He probably should eclipse it, and now there's less traffic in the room, but I don't know, something about it. It has like some stink on me. Some Packers and some Vikings beer goggles stink on me.
Dex reserves all of his NFC North love for Jared Goff.
That's right. Yeah, clearly. I'm not related.
In the family.
I mean, this one is 100% health dependent, right? I mean, and he doesn't even need to play 17 games, I think, to make this. You're going to be feeling pretty good about it. Mm-hmm. But he's going to. What do you think, D-Bro? Like, it would have to be 11 or more, right? Like something like that.
I agree
but
with that.
You do have some leeway for missed time, I think, even with this number. So it does provide a little bit of a cushion. But with Christian Watson, obviously, the health being the caveat could just wipe it out. But in terms of the value and having a little bit of a cushion against some missed time, I definitely see where you're coming from.
So I'll share one with you guys that I'll also kind of blend over from my Purple Daily time that I would like to kind of that I've been slinging for the last few years there. And it's that, now this is not the prop bet because unfortunately it doesn't exist, but I will take the under of 25.5 passing touchdowns for Justin Herbert. So I'm not a big Herbert believer. I know he's got the body and he's got the build and he should be better and should have had some better playoff success, and that's definitely the biggest cloud around his game. But I keep going back to the same thing I've said. He is fancy Kirk Cousins. He is a sexier Kirk Cousins to me. I think he's a stat stuffer. I don't know if you can win with him long term. He's had 3 cracks at it early. He hasn't performed very well. I'm not saying it's the same body. That's why I'm saying it's a sexier version of Kirk Cousins. And this is not just a vendetta pick, okay? It's baked in, but it's a little bit of a vendetta pick. The Chargers this year have negative 24 rest advantage. They will have 4 games this year where they have 7 days less rest than other teams, which is a crazy, crazy number going into a year. So they don't have a rest advantage. They're playing in a crowded division. If Mahomes plays back up to speed, and Denver still should be good. And with Harbaugh there, they run the ball a lot more since he got established there. So they're not asking Herbert like he was when he first came in the league, when he was thrown like 660 times. I'd hammer the over at 25.5 then. But for right now, I'm going lower. I'll say 25 touchdowns or less for Justin Herbert this year.
I don't hate this. Go ahead, Thor.
Well, I was just going to say, like, I was surprised, like, looking up this stat line. Herbert, the last 4 years, he had, in 2022, 25 touchdown passes, starting 17 games. Next season was 20, starting 13. 2024 was 23 touchdowns over 17 games. Last year was 26 over 16. So even the healthy seasons, he's right around here. And, of course, you have, a health thing would probably nullify that. But, yeah, that is kind of a little bit of an aggressive number. So I would definitely be on fading it. If nothing else, I wouldn't go over that number.
Yeah, I was surprised looking at Fantasy Pros projections right now. Like, we've got them projected for 26.2 passing touchdowns. Okay. I mean, just like in the blind, I would have thought that number would have been the 27, 28 mark. So, like, to see it right here basically at this line at 26 and taking the under, like, that's not – I actually like this a lot more than I thought I would, Dex.
They also, bringing in McDaniel from Miami, it's just a sort of more accelerated thing of what the Vikings are doing with Frank Smith. But they did that in order to rejigger and try to pump up that run game. Not only do you have the first rounder from last year, Amari and Hampton, coming back healthy, but also Keaton Mitchell and everything they're going to do there. Chargers, and Jim Harbaugh, I mean, this is his ethos, is keeping the ball on the ground. Last year, because of some of the offensive line injuries and then injuries to the running back, they started throwing the ball more. But even then, again, it was 26 touchdowns for Herbert over 16 starts. Well, what if they keep the ball on the ground a lot more this year? So that's something you have to factor in too.
I like it. Drop us a comment here. What's your favorite prop bet going into the 2026 season? Or which one of us sounded like the biggest idiot? Was it just the 2 takes that I gave and not the genius ones that Thor and D-Bro did? That's totally fine. Call me out. I will be the sucker there. But we have some fun things lined up on future episodes of Sweating Sundays. We mentioned fantasy football earlier. We will talk fantasy football at times. We will also be looking to make a community-based kind of parlay, essentially, during our live stream on Thursdays. I'm still going to be looking for my live dog each day that I'll update you guys on what I'd missed, what I didn't hit on, what I hopefully hit on from the previous football week. College football action from Thor. So many great things. So hit the like button, hit the subscribe button for Thor, for D-Bro. I'm Dex, and this is Sweating Sundays, a football podcast for football sickos.